This episode of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.
Hi guys, this is Reuben Langdon. You're listening to A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. Shoryuken!
It's time. Talk time. Let's go. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time live. Started in the 80s with Matt Cross. Dudes in the hood might have called that soft, but I carried that cross like Jesus did. Fast forward, I teach the kids to learn how to let go, live life, and show love to all things that don't matter where y'all from. And luckily, there's a show called Talk Time. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Dax kicks the facts on all the geek news, special guests and unbiased reviews. Suburban kids, the hipster street dudes, all can learn something new. Me too. I heard words when no faith is empty. I stayed the course, so my haters tempt me. Beat the podcast, that'll make them envy. It ain't too trendy, it's A.C.M.G. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games that come on and let's get it. Talk time live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the journal of my life that covers all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the Prime Show. I am your host, Xavier Josiah. I hope everybody had a peaceful week. I know I did. It was my birthday week, so, I did nothing but chill, relax, because there's nothing else to do. We're all quarantined in. We're supposed to be quarantined in, but, of course, that's not everybody. Things are different this year. Things are going to be different this year, and it's going to be a slow burn to getting things back or better than what it used to be, and that's okay, because I'm chill. You're talking about a guy who was in house arrest at one point when he was a kid. So, for unfortunate reasons, and I should explain that. When I say when I was on house arrest, it wasn't for anything I did wrong. I was wrongfully accused, and therefore they put me in house arrest, and that was okay because that's like grounding somebody. It's like literally grounding somebody and, sending them to their room that has cable, a Nintendo entertainment system, a couch bed, and just all sorts of things to chill. So I'm like, house arrest was nothing to me, but I digress. I'm used to this. This is no big deal. I had it done before. And, last year we got to really do a lot. This year, not so much. I'm okay with being able to wait, and that's fine. But while I'm here, I got so much technology, I got so much entertainment, and it gives me the opportunity to do this show. So that didn't slow down one bit. And what a show we have today, because we are going to be talking about all sorts of things. But the top of it's funny, I had to really go back and forth on what the talk topic was going to be, because I got two major things I want to talk about. One, of course, is WANDAVISION, and two is a look back at Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the movie. If you guys listen to the Select Start podcast, I, kind of did a revision, not a review, a look back at the game, because the game came back out. Ubisoft brought it back out for a new generation of gamers, and it really can't get a review because it's the same exact game from back in, I believe, 2010, I believe it came out, and there's nothing changed. It's just the same great game that everybody rated highly for. It was like, I gave it an A+. So we just went back on why this game was so great. The same thing is going to go for this movie, because this was one of those movies that was a cult classic, and the only reason why it's considered a cult classic because not many people got a chance to see it. I think it came out during a really bad time, or when another movie came out. I forgot the reason for it, but it was kind of it was shadowed by something big that came out that time, and it never got the justice that it did because it was critically acclaimed. It was beautifully done. Edgar Wright directed it and did a fantastic job doing what I thought was the undoable. And so what I decided to do is that I'm going to talk about that in the next segment after all the news that we're going to talk about. WandaVision has to be the top brass for this. It has to be on a talk topic because the first 2 episodes came out and there were some things that needed to be talked about. And the only reason why I think that I decided to make this the talk topic is because the response from some fans in regards to what they were watching. And I think I want to talk about that and also explain, because I kind of think I understand why certain fans, and maybe just a vocal minority of fans, of course, thought of it the way it was. And it's a whole demographic and generational thing, of course. So I decided to make WandaVision the top priority here. It will be the talk topic, and we'll talk about Scott Pilgrim in the next segment. So along with all the news, so let's not waste any time, folks. Let's find out what's new in the world of A.C.M.G.
And now it's time to find out what's new in the world of A.C.M.G.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the first order of news that we're going to talk about is the first look at the Mortal Kombat movie. We got pictures exclusively from Entertainment Weekly that came out this week, and I gotta say, if you want to get any first looks of anything, it's usually from 2 major formats. That's Entertainment Weekly and Empire Magazine, and I used to subscribe to both of those because of that. And I would say Empire Magazine is even more fun to subscribe to, because if you get the digital version for your iPad or tablet, they have really big, elaborate, animated covers that they always do, and it's always something cool that they put together in it. I love it. It always made me want to work for Empire Magazine because they always manage to do something really cool with their magazine covers, like that. In terms of designing, and commercial arts and stuff like that, because that's what I do. So Empire Magazine is just always one of my favorites in that sense. But Entertainment Weekly and that one too, if you subscribe to them, 9 chances out of 10 you always get some really cool issues with some epic first looks of everything. So this time we get a first look at the Mortal Kombat movie that is set to come in April. I believe, when is this coming out? April 16th of this year. So we finally get something to look, because we really didn't get anything out of this other than it was coming out this year. And they've been working on it heavily. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pictures coming from the website. It's really not, I mean, from what I'm looking at right now, I'm not excited. I'm not really that hyped yet about it, because one, a part of it kind of looks like the old movie from New Line Cinema from way back in the day. I'm not seeing anything that's getting me really, really hyped. It just looks like the same old Mortal Kombat, the same settings, everything. I can't speak for anybody else, but I can't get excited until I see a trailer. And that's when I will get excited, because right now the pictures don't do it justice. You could throw up the pictures of the original Mortal Kombat movie and put them up against this one, with the exception of Jax, because there is no way that they would be able to do any type of CGI of what they did to Jax's arms here. It would look like the same thing. It would look exactly the same thing. But we have 7 pictures here, and this movie is directed by Simon McQuoid, and it's starring Ludi Lin as Liu Kang, Max Hong or Huang as Kung Lao, Jessica McNamee as Sonya Blade, Jason Lawson as Kano, Hiroyuki Sanada as Scorpion, Louis Tan as Cole Young. If you're a Mortal Kombat fan and you hear that name and you're trying to figure out where the hell that name came from, Guess what? You won't find it. It's a brand new character. That's going to bring some interest here. Mehcad Brooks, who many people know as James Olsen from Supergirl, is playing Jackson. We'll cover that situation in just a second. Chen Han as Shang Tsung as well. So here we have pictures that are from Entertainment Weekly showing Sub-Zero, and a picture with Sub-Zero and Scorpion before they became their own alter egos in here. So it's like, it might be just like some sort of a flashback, heading to that. We got another one with the new character Cole Young in here. So that right there. We got another one showing Sub-Zero using projecting a ice dagger, which is something characteristic of him. We see Jax with his cybernetic arms in here, which is very interesting because I'm wondering if this. Oh wait, you know what? I didn't realize this. I did not realize this. Everybody's focusing on Jax, but I just realized he's holding on to what it looks like a sledgehammer. And if you look at the left of the picture, if you go into Entertainment Weekly, you can see these pictures there. If you look at the left of the picture, the it's shoulder pads looking awfully familiar, like Shao Kahn. So it looks like Shao Kahn is going to be in the movie as well. That was not mentioned at all. I don't know if anybody realized that because they were so focused on Jax's mustache, which now everybody is calling him Steve Harvey, and there's a lot of memes coming out with they're regrafting his face into Steve Harvey's face. Is hilarious. I knew when I first saw him, they had a set pic with him on there, and he had that mustache. I'm like, that's going to be a problem. I don't understand. Just give him a goatee. That Jax in the video game had a goatee. He didn't have a Steve Harvey mustache. You would not have had this problem if he had a goatee. Like, there's nothing more badass than a goatee. I'm not saying that because I have one, but I'm just saying that it's like a Steve Harvey like mustache does not work here. I don't know. I was questionable about him even playing Jax in the first place. I know he's built for the part physically. We'll see. We also see a picture here with Sonya Blade with Kano, and it's obvious it's Kano. This is funny because a lot of this looks like it's weird. You can't figure out the timeline of what they're basing this on, because you got Kano without the cybernetic eye, and his eye is just scratched up or whatever. So I don't know what they're doing, or maybe he does have a cybernetic eye, because this picture of him, he does have a red eye. So it could be that he does, but it's not coming out as, or probably later on it'll come out with the plate, with the cybernetic plate that's inside him too. So I think it might just lead into that. And then of course we got the last picture that shows Liu Kang and Kung Lao back to back, teaming up. The Shaolin, what do they call those in the game? It's not the Shaolin Alliance. I forgot what they call them, but the Shaolin Warriors, of course, that they are. So according to GameInformer.com, I had to understand the story because this Cole Young character is really interesting. The story, according to GameInformer.com, the story is based on Cole Young, who is a down-on-his-luck, washed-up mixed martial arts fighter who has a mysterious connection to the Mortal Kombat tournament. He also has the birthmark that resembles the iconic dragon symbol on his chest. And that is going to be interesting because that means they're changing the entire story around. This could take place after the events of the first tournament because, again, the picture with Jax shows Shao Kahn in here. There's a lot of things. This is going to be interesting. Nobody knows I just told you sort of the storyline, but it doesn't tell you, is this based on the events before the tournament? I think it's going to be based on after. Who we don't know who is the main villain, even though I kind of see it's just obvious. The more I'm looking at it now, it's obviously Shao Kahn with his hammer. So he could be the main thing here. And if you guys remember, Shao Kahn was in the first appearance we saw him was on Annihilation, which by far was the most god-awful sequel that you could ever see outside of Highlander 2. So, it was just awful. I mean, it was just so bad. Like, Christopher Lambert wasn't even reprising his role as Raiden. The original actress who played Sonya Blade and Johnny Cage was not there. It was just so bad. It was very cheaply done. It looked like the level of the Super Sentai, series in Japan in the early 90s and 2000s. It just looked really, really bad. This is a terrible movie. I think I watched it like at least 2, maybe 3 times, and I think the third time was like, I just can't anymore. It was just so poorly done. It was just, and I don't believe the director who directs the original Mortal Kombat movie and the Resident Evil movies wasn't a part of this as well. So, which I think that was the biggest downfall, because that was the one movie he really, really nailed in there. So, it was awesome. It was really, really awesome. So I don't know, man. I don't know. The other thing that was said too, and I saw on IMDb when I was looking things up, was that there are also other significant characters making their film debut for the Mortal Kombat series as well, including Natara. Now, that name doesn't ring a bell for many people. Natara is a previous character. They didn't bring her back for the recent ones. I believe it was said that she makes a quick appearance in Mortal Kombat 11. I failed to really pay attention to that, but she first appeared on Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, and she was in a few other games after that as well. So she is. I can't remember too much about the character. I do know that she should have wings, like bat wings or like demon wings or something like that. She should have a tail or stuff like that. She was an interesting character during that time. This was Deadly Alliance, if you guys remember, was the very first time Liu Kang actually died, because it was the time when who was it? Quan Chi and Shang Tsung decided to team up with each other, and in doing so, they killed Liu Kang, which then debuted the actual zombie Liu Kang, which was a very interesting time for Mortal Kombat. This Mortal Kombat, and as opposed to the original and his sequel, will be rated R. So that'll be interesting. The movie, like I said, will arrive on April 16th in theaters and exclusively on HBO Max as well. So the reason why I love what HBO Max and Warner Brothers has done, because if this thing sucks, at least I won't have to know that I didn't pay more than my fair share, and I didn't have to run out to the theaters to go see this if it was bad. So this could be pretty good or good bad. We'll see. We'll see. But I mean, so far with the pictures, I can't really make the one thing I am confident is that the CGI and special effects will be good in terms of writing and narrative and character portrayal and character direction. I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it looks good from what I'm seeing. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look campy. It looks exactly like the original movie, and a lot of people love the original movie. So hopefully they'll carry the essence of that and give it a little bit more oomph to it. Now, hopefully it's because their comparison now is not just the original movie, but it's also the video game as well, because the video game storytelling has been awesome. Like, and that was backed by Warner Brothers too, and that got the Warner Brothers seal of approval as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this fares against the original and the video game, because to me the video game stories are just as great as well here. So moving on to some very interesting other news that I just came across in my notification. I'm a Netflix subscriber, so we get notifications of new things that are coming out, and this was interesting here. I'd never really watched this cartoon, and when I did, it was only because there was nothing else on, and even then I wasn't too much of a fan of it. But this live action version, I may need to jump on this. Fate, the Winx Saga, coming to Netflix on January 22nd, which I believe is this week. Yep, this Friday. And basically, if that even remotely sound familiar to you, the word Winx, it's because it is based on the popular cartoon series known as The Winx Club, where it involves a particular character going to a school of fairies, and they all learn how to, use their powers or whatever like that. So it has become a popular series. I believe it also spawned a spinoff or sequel or whatever. So it has a popular fan base with it, and also it had a toy line as well. So that it was a successful series, so much so that they're making a live action version now. The live action version looks a little bit more realistic and sophisticated. It has a really hyper tone to it, in a sense. And if I could compare it to anything, almost like Riverdale and the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. So and the special effects were phenomenal from what I saw in the trailer. And this was enough, and it was enough to bring more interest to me. So I may be checking this out, and it comes out January 22nd. If you're a fan of it, definitely go out of your way to check it out. I wasn't too much of a fan of the cartoon version, but man, they put a lot in to this trailer. And this is exactly what I was talking about with Mortal Kombat. It's like, I can't be convinced by pictures. Any HD picture looks great. I need to see a trailer, and hopefully we will get to see a trailer soon of that, and hopefully it will look just as great as Fate the Winx Saga looks as well. So we will see. This news that I have right here is ginormous, because it's the news that a lot of Marvel fans have been waiting for. This week we got the confirmation from Kevin Feige himself. Deadpool 3 is finally confirmed to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it will remain in its rated R fashion. Kevin Feige has confirmed that that the Merc with the Mouth will officially join the MCU, and it will be rated R. Ryan Reynolds is helping to oversee the script, according to Feige. He went on to say as well that he doesn't believe the movie will begin shooting this year. And right, understandably so, because if you watch the video that they did, the preview that they did, or the showcase that they did of all the things that they're coming out with, they got a lot in their hands right now. And of course, Deadpool wasn't one of them, because that was still under discussion, obviously. But he wants to make sure, him and Reynolds, Ryan Reynolds is overseeing the script. They want to make sure that they get Deadpool's entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe just right. So this is awesome. This was awesome, and this is what everybody was hoping for, especially during Deadpool 2, because they kind of hinted on a lot of things, and the writing was tailored to it was tailored to be just in case Fox gets bought up by Disney, which it did, that they would be able to make hints as if they were a part of it. And that was just brilliantly done. So let's go down with Deadpool's history, because this is an interesting history. And what's even more interesting is that you have a character he's from a series of movies that is now defunct. X-Men came out in 2000. X-Men came out with highly acclaim and high praise in 2000. X-Men 1 and 2, awesome. X-Men 1 and 2, which you can see on Disney Plus right now. For some reason, 3 is not on there. I have a feeling it may not. But, X-Men 1 and 2 is on there. It was 2 awesome movies at the time. And then after that, X-Men 3, Brett Ratner came out. Maybe that's the reason why it's not going to be in the Disney Plus. But Brett Ratner's version came out, and it never really lived up. It actually fell. It dropped considerably in quality in terms of character development and everything. It was just so bad. And then it just kept getting worse. We then got X-Men Origins. We got a whole bunch of other things, and then it tried to get back up with the First Class and Days of Future Past, which both of them were overall good in the eyes of fans. Apocalypse, not so much. Dark Phoenix, not so much. So it has a up and down history. However, what stayed consistent through it all was Deadpool. Deadpool, even in X-Men Origins, he was the most sought after person. So Deadpool's movie history, starts off with that. In 2009's X-Men Origins Wolverine, which was supposed to be telling the story of Wolverine and Sabretooth, but the standout thing of the whole entire movie was Ryan Reynolds' portrayal as Deadpool, as Wade Wilson. And here's the funny part about it, is that his appearance he was at the beginning and at the end, but he was nowhere near the middle. And when he got to the end, they screwed up that part. If you guys also remember, there was a lot of problems with this movie, not just from the storytelling part, but the whole movie got leaked before it was ever, produced, with the CGI and bells and whistles and everything. So that was a whole thing. If you guys remember, it was all like the leaked version. It was all green screen. It wasn't even ready, so people got to see the movie before it ever came out in the theaters, and it was bad. It was really, really bad. But the one thing that was biggest positive, and the one thing that to this day that still stands out, is Ryan Reynolds' portrayal as Wade Wilson, who, like I said, was only in there for a short term. It was reminiscent of when The Rock first appeared on The Mummy 2. And the biggest thing about The Mummy 2 was The Rock's portrayal as the Scorpion King. And it was is the only thing that people could talk about. And he was only in that movie for 5 minutes, and then they had the CGI version of him at the very end. And there were similarities to that movie, to Mummy 2 and, X-Men Origins, is that they both did the same thing. They had these overwhelmingly charismatic characters that stood out in the beginning of the film and slightly at the end, sans the crappy CGI and makeup job and everything. But they stayed consistent. Like Wade Wilson, like when people saw Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson on X-Men Origins, they already knew that there was more to be done with his character and the actor as well for that. And even Ryan Reynolds knew that there was more to be done. Deadpool then made his starring debut in 2016 due to high demand of the fans, and he got his self-titled movie directed by Tim Miller and written by Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick. And it was this movie where we got to see both Ryan Reynolds play the character fans knew he could truly be, and he did not disappoint at all. The movie did not disappoint at all. Still considered one of the best comedies of all time. The first movie not only knocked it out the park, but with great performances, great cast, and appropriate rated R narrative. We also got a bonus from this movie in what I consider the greatest Stan Lee cameo of all time, as he appears as a DJ of a strip club, something I never thought we would ever see Stan Lee do. It was priceless. It was absolutely, and only something that it's a very Ryan Reynolds type of thing to do, but more credit to probably Rhett Reese and Paul. I just couldn't believe that Stan Lee would even consider doing that cameo. It's so out of pocket. It's awesome. The movie has been widely acclaimed as one of the best comic book comedy movies ever, and grossed over $363 million, $70,709 in the U.S., with its U.S. opening acquiring over $132,434,638. It's just amazing. Then, in 2018, which felt like so far away between 2 years, it was only 2 years. In 2018, we got the mother of all comedic sequels, as Deadpool 2 arrived, bigger, better, and a hell of a lot funnier than edgy and more edgy. This time bringing in Josh Brolin as Cable, while already receiving major acclaim for his and success and his epic portrayal as Thanos in Avengers Infinity War. I mean, this was Josh Brolin's year, was 2018. You can't say nothing about that dude in 2018. That was his year. Not to mention, we got one hell of a appearance from quote-unquote X-Force, if not for a short while, which also included the debut of Domino, played by Zazie Beetz from FX's Atlanta. The Juggernaut, voiced by Ryan Reynolds. The way better appropriate Juggernaut here. This was the Juggernaut. Like, I know there's another thing that people had problems with in X3 was that, I mean, that Juggernaut wasn't bad. It's just, if you compare it to the Juggernaut in Deadpool 2, not even close. Like, they killed it on Deadpool 2 with that. And a funny cameo from the cast of X-Men First Class. Awesome. Just awesome. What made this sequel so great and significant, though, was that we not only got to see many characters from the X-Men universe, but because of Deadpool's weird ability to break the fourth wall, the writers were able to take many liberties with the film by mentioning everything from comparing the movie to the comics, mentioning the DC film universe as well, including poking fun at the failed Green Lantern movie that Ryan Reynolds took part in. And more importantly, this is absolutely more importantly, characters in the MCU, including have been mentioned many times in this movie, including acknowledging that Cable is Thanos in its own tongue-in-cheek way. And it's because of that we now say that it's easy to say that Deadpool 2, arguably, but I say easily, say that Deadpool 2 is officially an MCU movie. Not only because Fox was purchased by Disney and acquired by Marvel Studios, but the mentioning and the third wall breaking was brilliantly tailored to make it as if he is a part of the group, even back in 2. I think they had an inkling of knowledge that there may be some type of acquisition going on, and they went with that, and it was awesome. I think they did an absolutely great job, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with 3. 3 is going to be so fantastic. It's just great. So here we go. We're getting our movies back. And I can't be more happier. So last thing I want to talk about is, of course, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which, again, Ubisoft lovingly released this on my birthday on January the 14th this year. And I couldn't be happier. Now, originally, I was going to review and look back at the movie during the date of its release date. Or the week of its release date, because we're celebrating, when did that movie come out? Let me look into Scott Pilgrim versus the World real quick. As to when that came out, Scott Pilgrim. There we go. 2010. So a little over 10 years ago. It's celebrating its 10-year anniversary. The movie still holds up, first of all. I want to point that out here. But why people were so excited that the game came out, because of how great the game is, but also how great the movie is and how great the graphic novel is. Edgar Wright got it right. And I can't speak for the other movies that Edgar Wright was made. I know he did Shaun of the Dead. I know he did Baby Driver, World's End. He did a lot of those movies, which were awesome. But I think Scott Pilgrim versus the World really, really stood out more than any of those for a lot of great reasons. Because he was able to accomplish something that a lot of people in Hollywood have trouble doing when it comes to, doing, what was it, like doing iterations of comic book to film movies. And the translations are usually off. They usually tend to not go by the source, or they use partial source and then do their own thing. In the 90s, it was horrible because they just barely did any of the source comics for you to even recognize who it was. I'm talking about The Punisher. I'm talking about, the original Fantastic Four. There was a lot of bad movies in the 90s, and a lot of it had to do with the directors not respecting the comics, the source of where they came from. And they weren't fans. They were Hollywood, uppity dudes that were saying like, okay, I can do whatever the hell I want. Nobody's going to care because it's based on a comic book, but I can make it come to life in their own way. That never worked. It never worked. But if you go to the source, if you try to go as close to the source as possible, and maybe, take a little bit of liberties with it, but remain the source of what the book was based on, it'll work. some people were so afraid to do exactly what the events of the book. Not Edgar Wright, because Michael Bacall wrote a wonderful screenplay, a wonderful movie that word from word, it's almost like the script was just read the book. Just read the book. We're going to go by the book. We're going to go by all of it. It's fantastic what they did. Edgar Wright also directed it and gave us a visual version of what we read in that graphic novel. And it became legendary in its own sense. Like, there were only, like I said before, I mentioned this on the Select Start episode this week. There are only 2 movies that were successful in making a panel by panel retelling in live action. It was Scott Pilgrim and it was The Watchmen. Panel by panel, word from word. And you're shocked because you don't see this happen as much. You do not see that happen much. And man, I just enjoyed it. The cast, I mean, let's talk about the cast here. The cast includes what now can be said an all-star legendary cast here. Because at the time, they were kind of up and coming and they were just starting to get their feet on the ground, some of them. And now it's like you look back and it's like, oh my God, look who was in this movie. Just incredible. Michael Cera, of course, speaks for himself. Michael Cera he's just ridiculously good. He was perfect for Scott Pilgrim here. You had Wallace Wells, played by Kieran Culkin, which, by the way, if anybody wants to know, he is the brother of Macaulay Culkin, and you can kind of see that as well. So he did great as Wallace Wells in here. Anna Kendrick as Stacy Pilgrim. She was hilarious here, and she's Anna Kendrick. That's all you need to know now. Like, it's awesome. You had Allison Pill play Kim, Aubrey Plaza, Julie Powers. She was hilarious in here, but it's Aubrey Plaza because she's awesome at whatever she does. And not only that, you see all these people in this movie not only just look different, but kind of play different to other characters that you see. I mean, they're actors, but it's just amazing how acting, to me, is supposed to suspend your disbelief. And I know who these people are, but they do, watching this movie, make me feel like that they're playing more of the characters more than themselves. Like, if you watch Will Smith play in anything, it's like, okay, it's just Will Smith playing something. You see Will Smith in everything that he does. Not this. Like, Aubrey Plaza as Julie Powers was a totally different, like, makeup and everything. It's totally different, even though she was still dark and cynical, as she normally is in a lot of things. It still felt different. Michael Cera, I think, is the only one I can say to, like, you still see Michael Cera, but he's playing Scott Pilgrim nonetheless. Then you had Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Ramona Flowers. Now, here's one of the first here that plays an actual comic book hero. And it's in this movie. If you guys remember, she also played Huntress in the Harley Quinn movie, the sequel as well that came out. So, not really the sequel, it's her own standalone movie as well. So you got, that's the first superhero that I'm mentioning. You got Jason Schwartzman as Gideon Graves. I mean, it just gets so better. Ellen Wong as Knives Chow. I believe she also played later on, she played in Glow on Netflix. And it's just, I mean, I love that. If you're a wrestler fan, you would love that show. She did really well in there, in that TV series as well. So, but then you got the big leaguers here. You got Ryan. I was about to say Ryan Reynolds. That's not the case. You have appearances by none other than Chris Evans, who plays one of the evil exes. Lucas Lee. Lucas Lee apparently is based on actor Jason Lee, who played in all the Kevin Smith movies. I didn't notice at the time, but he was also a former skateboarder, a famous skateboarder as well, that turned into an actor. So I didn't even know that was a thing. You also had, and by the way, Chris Evans, of course, is Captain America, famously. So so you had that. But then you also had Brie Larson as well, who played Envy Adams. And we all know, bro, take note, this is the first time I ever watched Brie Larson. It's my first interaction with Brie Larson in any movie was here. And I thought she was phenomenal in this movie. And then to find out that she's playing Captain Marvel, and it was like, I totally believe it. I'm so drawn into her character and her portrayal and everything. Just so great. And then also, can I forget to add? So we got Captain Marvel, we got Captain America, but we also have Superman as well, because then we got Brandon Routh, who is Envy Adams' new boyfriend, also Ramona's ex, and he's playing Todd Ingram, the vegan, the vegan with powers. It's just so incredible. This movie should not have worked. And before I even go there, I also got to mention one other guy who is a friend of the show, who has been on this show 4 times, and a really good dude. And his name is Reuben Langdon, who plays Lucas Lee's stunt team leader. He's the first. You can't miss him. He's the first stunt double that you see for Lucas Lee, and he was also the stuntman in here as well. It was just totally awesome. We actually got a chance to talk about that in our first interview ever. When I first interviewed Reuben Langdon, who also plays Ken Masters on Street Fighter 5 and 4, and also Dante from Devil May Cry. When I first interviewed him, we talked about his appearance on there, and we're going to play a clip right now of that interview. And in doing so, we're going to talk about his experience on the set of Scott Pilgrim, because it was just great. I love what he did on there, and it was just awesome just to see. It was kind of a little, because the movie is also a tribute to video games. It was, for a lot of people, a big wink moment, and talking about of seeing the guy who plays so many different game characters on there as well, and plus he's a stuntman as well, and stunt coordinator as well. So it played in beautifully for him in here. So here is a clip of that interview of myself and Reuben Langdon talking about Scott Pilgrim.
Shoryuken!
Just before we go, were you the guy at the very front next to Michael Cera on that clip?
And Scott Pilgrim?
In Scott Pilgrim.
I was stunt double number 1 for, or the first stunt double for that. There was a stunt double scene.
Right. I remember vaguely with that scene with Chris Evans.
Yes, Chris Evans, exactly. I was his part of his stunt team, I guess. But I also did, so initially for the film, we did some test work to sort of pitch. Worked with Edgar Wright and Brad Allen, the stunt coordinator, and we were doing. I was brought on board to help with the pitch package to Universal. It was sort of.
Oh wow!
Like they had sort of greenlit it already, but because Edgar had all this experimental camera work that he wanted to do and different techniques and things he wanted to implement into the film to make it look the way it looked. Universal was like, okay, we'll give you a couple of days to shoot, and this was before they had fully locked in Michael Cera. So so I got to be Scott Pilgrim for 2 days.
How cool!
It was very cool. I knew it was just a test, and I knew never in a million years I'd ever be Scott Pilgrim. But it was fun to get in the outfit, and I was reading the comics at the time, and.
Oh, the comics was great.
Yeah, and I was instantly a huge fan, and then later, because the whole thing was shot in Canada, and because of Canada's strict rules for employment rules,
right.
Basically, they were trying to get me on board as a stunt player and on the stunt team, but they. Unless you were a stunt double, and I wasn't Michael Cera's double in the film, it was somebody else.
Gotcha.
And they were trying to get, unless you're a specific stunt double or have a specific stunt position, the Canadian law won't let performers from the States go up there just to be.
Yeah, I've heard many things about that. Not only just from the industry that you work in, but other industries as well.
Yeah,
they're really strict.
It's super strict. I mean, it's strict the other way around too. So it is what it is. But so basically, Edgar basically wrote me in that part and said, no, this is the guy and this is a part and we're going to give him this. And he's, so they brought me back up to in the film as the stunt double guy for Chris Evans.
Right.
So it was, I got to be on the film just for a couple weeks, but that couple weeks was a dear experience and it was a lot of fun. And yeah.
All right. So that was the clip of myself and Reuben Langdon, who is Lucas Lee's stunt coordinator, stuntman number one. And like I said, if you watch that clip, which is one of my favorite scenes, period, not only just because he was in it, but Chris Evans playing as Lucas Lee, and the way they got his eyebrows arched up, he got the spiky hair, and his portrayal, like you would never. People dismiss how great Chris Evans is, because this is the same guy who played Johnny Storm on Fantastic Four. And if you look at his portrayal of that, and then you look at Lucas Lee right here, and then you look at Captain America, 3 totally different personas and characters. I mean, he really puts it in. I don't think Chris Evans gets enough credit for how well he does these portrayals, because he plays these 3 different characters, all have 3 different kind of demographics and age limits and mentalities, and you don't see Chris Evans anymore. You see that character. I love the way that they have his eyes arched up too. So it's like, kind of know it's Chris Evans, but he totally gets into his character. And I'm looking at my screen right now of this scene, and there's Reuben Langdon right there. It's so awesome. So if you want to listen to that entire interview, go to talktimelive.com, go to the exclusives page in there, click on it, scroll down. It's at the very bottom. It was my very first interview with him on July 4th, and it was awesome. Just talking about that and much, much more. And we have other interviews with him as well, leading up to Devil May Cry 5. I mean, anytime I need him and want to have him on the show, it's just a text away, phone call or a text away, man. He's just an awesome dude. He's a world traveler. He gets into the supernatural. Well, not the supernatural. I should say the extraterrestrial, if you will. He's an open-minded, very well-rounded guy. I always appreciate having him. But this movie, in all honesty, if you've read the graphic novel or comic book, whatever you want to call it, you read the story. The story is awesome, and in comic book form, this should work. I forgot Bill Hader was in here too. Just a whole star stud. I haven't even remotely named all the people that was in this movie. But you look at this movie, and you look at the graphic novel, it works for a graphic novel standpoint. It works from a comic book standpoint. Trying to put this into film is not easy. And then making it work the way it did. It should not have worked. I truly believe under anybody else other than Edgar Wright, this movie would not have worked. He somehow made it work, and the special effects that they added with it too. And this is why people were so excited when they found out that Edgar Wright was going to be working on Ant-Man, because we would have this type of this spectacle in the Ant-Man movie. And unfortunately, we didn't to an extent. It was very subtle. Edgar Wright he does get credited for some of the things that he put into the movie, but not as a director or anything. I think it would have been a very interestingly new. Now, granted, Ant-Man turned out to be really great with its current directors and everything, but one would still have to wonder what they would have done if he would have took the helm of this, because this movie is a masterpiece. I watched it again the same day I played the video game. It still holds up. It's still to my heart. It's still a great thing. And then on top of this, you get the soundtrack. Which also plays. So you got a really great video game, a tremendous movie, and on top of that, you have a fantastic soundtrack here. The soundtrack, which is probably among one of the best movie soundtracks ever. When you name movie soundtracks, you're thinking like New Jack City, What else? Matrix. Jeez. I can, off the top of my head, I can't think. Those are the two that I think immediately. Boomerang. Eddie Murphy's Boomerang. I mean, just some great. Waiting to Exhale. You think of some great. Most of those I just mentioned were Babyface Edmonds, by the way. So you have that, but then you have Scott Pilgrim versus the World, because you hear a lot of the music that is played in the song, and it just works so well with what's going on in the premise and the story, and it creates its own narrative for the actual movie. But you play it on a standalone, it is tremendous. I love the soundtrack. I love the music from the soundtrack. Black Sheep is one of my favorites in the soundtrack, and it's so awesome. Let me see if I can Scott Pilgrim versus the World soundtrack. Let's see what we got here. We are sex bombs at the very beginning. It's just I don't know what it is about the soundtrack that is so awesome. But you hear a lot of the things and a lot of the scenes in the soundtrack from the movie. Garbage Truck is awesome. It's just Under My Thumb is by the Rolling Stones is on here too. It's just great. It's Teenage Dream, Threshold, Ramona by Beck. There's two versions too. Scott sings it, but the full version is by Beck, who does a beautiful version of Ramona on here. And it just works out so well. So, what better way to understand why this movie is so awesome, why this game is so awesome, and why the graphic novel is so awesome? It makes for a legendary brand and product and franchise. It's just lovely. I just absolutely love it. If you've never watched this movie, it's 2010. If you never watched this movie, you owe it to yourself. This is like one of the best things ever. It's like I said, it shouldn't work. It should not have worked. It did work. The special effects, the fighting scenes, Michael Cera's fighting scenes. It's not. It is. The thing I love too. I think the thing that made it work so well is that they could have easily phoned this in, not take it seriously, not give it the investment that they did in terms of action scenes, in terms of just accuracy. But they did. They made this. They took this seriously. You could tell they took this seriously. They really made this into an awesome thing. And you had some fantastic actors who went on to do some incredibly great things after this. And it shows. This is one of those things that really you can really make a great comic book movie with serious actors and give it the quality that it deserves. And that's what we started seeing in 2010. And now we started seeing all of these great movies that are being taken seriously. And now we got great actors who are putting this, like, again, I go back to the Winter Soldier. We got Robert Redford in a comic book movie. You would not have seen that in the 80s. Remember when Angela Bassett was set to be looked after to play Storm in the original X-Men in 2000, and she declined it because the mentality at the time was comic book movies were career killers. And then X-Men came out, and it became a big thing, and Hugh Jackman became a big thing. And I'm sure, sometimes I wonder, I really wonder why nobody has asked her, like, did you regret not playing the part of Storm in X-Men? Because later on, she wound up playing in, of all things, she became Amanda Waller in the Green Lantern movie, which was the worst thing she ever done. It was like, that was bad karma on her, because she played Amanda Waller, and Amanda Waller was a scientist. What? Didn't he play? And then she died, I think, in the movie. So you had that. And then on top of that, she wound up becoming T'Challa's mother, the Queen of Wakanda, which was very appropriate for her. She did a great job. And I think it's just a matter of too little, too late. But she would have been a phenomenal Storm. Like, no, we love Halle Berry, but Halle Berry should have never been Storm. She damn sure should have. It's just bad. Angela Bassett is still to this day everybody's Storm. That never became. So it's just great that we get great movies like this. And again, it's 2021, and I'm looking at this now. Just so well done. If you have not watched this movie, go out of your way to watch Scott Pilgrim versus the World. There's no point in giving this a grade. It's an A+. It's already A+ by many people's mind. Go after and check it out, man. Go after and check it out. That will do it for what's new in the world of A.C.M.G. We're going to take a break, come back, and when we do so, we're going to talk WandaVision. We're going to talk a lot about why this is good and why people may not think it's good, but they should think it's good. And, you know, the generational aspect of it. So we'll talk about all that right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dak Xavier Josiah, the host of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the podcast. You want to catch up with all of our podcast shows and hear from some of the hottest names in all of anime, comics, movies, and games, such as...
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto.
This is Stephanie Shea, the voice of Sailor Moon.
This is Reuben Langdon, voice of Ken Masters and Dante from Devil May Cry.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Ryu from Street Fighter V.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go.
Here's your chance to check out all of that and more on TalkTimeLive.com. TalkTimeLive.com provides all of our ACMG content with new and previous episodes, exclusive interviews, articles, and much more. Visit TalkTimeLive.com and let us help you learn to let go, live life, and love all things ACMG.
Talk Time Live.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Gohan from Dragon Ball Super, and you are listening to ACMG Presents Talk Time Live. Excuse me, Gohan, this is more of a narrator type thing. Okay. Just do it more like a next time on Talk Time Live. Next time on Talk Time Live. Don't quit your day job, Gohan.
Do it.
And now it's time for our Talk Topic of the Week. Ready? Fight!
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our Talk Topic of the Week, and it is my review of the first 2 episodes of WandaVision. Disney Plus, in accordance with Marvel Studios, are bringing in our first set of shows that will be introducing Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that will be coming soon. So, WandaVision is not what people expect it to be. Well, people who are impatient. You have 2 different types of fans that are watching this. You got the fans who understand what is going on, and that's usually the older fans at that, who understand that there's a slow burn to something bigger coming. And then you have the impatient fans who, just want to see the action. It's impact over intelligence. And there lies the situation. I don't want to call it a problem as much as it is a situation. Marvel is quality. Marvel likes to do things out of pocket and out of the ordinary, but by the end of it, has you wowed. And I think a lot of fans are used to these epic type of situations coming in, but also there's a lot of sophisticated aspect to it. There's an essence to this that makes it so great. So what Marvel is doing this time is that they are doing something a little bit different. Here we have Wanda Maximoff and we have Vision, who is for some reason in a 60s style sitcom. And for those who have never watched anything like Dick Van Dyke or Bewitch or Father Knows Best or Leave the Beaver, all that stuff, and truth be told, the demographic who is watching these may not have been born during those times. Honestly, I wasn't born during the times of these shows, but I grew up watching the reruns of this show. So I'm okay with it because this is what I watched, so I understand. I watched The Honeymooners. I watched, all of this, Amos and Andy, all that stuff back in the day. All of these black and white shows that have the 4:3 aspect ratio filming and such. It's a throwback. It's a throwback for a reason. And to whoever thinks that this is going to be the entire series is highly mistaken. They don't understand the situation. But I just tell people, you have to be patient because this is all leading into something huge. And I think if you're a true Marvel fan, you are patient. I think if you're a true Marvel fan, you know that stuff like this actually happens in the comics. This is nothing extravagantly new. It's just now in live action form. This reminded me of the comic book The Visions, which does a kind of sitcom type of, theme to those books. He's now with a family of humanoid robots just like him, or synthetic robots just like him, a daughter, a son, Viv, who just happens to be part of the Champions as well. They are all part of that. So this is nothing out of the ordinary what they've done, but what this is doing is that this is leading into something much bigger. And the biggest thing that you notice from this is at the end of these both shows, which you see a certain insignia, a logo. That logo is from a huge organization known as SWORD. SWORD is like the outer space intergalactic version of S.H.I.E.L.D. And we see that this is being brought into the premise here. Of course, S.H.I.E.L.D. is pretty much defunct in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and now SWORD is now possibly going to be entering in, but we don't know to what extent. We don't know anything yet. We just see the symbols there. If you watch rather the animated cartoons, or you've seen or you read them in the comics, then you know what SWORD is about. You know that something way bigger is about to happen here. And I want to also point out, if you go on Disney Plus right now, that they also they highlight in their marquee WandaVision, Civil War, Age of Ultron, Infinity War, and Endgame, because that was the two things that Vision and Wanda, aka Scarlet Witch, was on. So there may be hints and clues leading up here. And if you also know that during the commercials of the WandaVision series, there are also hints as well. One showing a commercial for Stark, the other one showing a commercial for Strucker, aka from Hydra. You saw the Hydra symbol in that watch. By the way, I want that watch. That's a whole other thing. But what I do love about the first two episodes is that they absolutely capture the essence of the 60s sitcom to a T. Like, it's just so awesome. Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany does an incredible job in their portrayals, in their Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore portrayals. It's just so awesome. They pay homage to Dick Van Dyke. They pay homage to Bewitched, obviously there. And they do it in exactly the way that happens. Now, if you're young, if you're like 20, 18, and you're seeing this, and I haven't seen the comments. I've only heard it from people in our A.C.M.G Facebook group who looks out to other, sources and groups and other stuff like that. There are people who are complaining about this whole format, and they don't get it. But some people understand it, but they don't like it. But I love it. I love it because mostly because I know this is temporary. But what they're doing is they're creating. This is the art of acting, and this is the fact that they were able to perfectly make an entire, TV show based on the 60s and capture the essence of that. That's great acting right there. But there's so much to look into in this. If you really, really, I think that by the time that there's 9 episodes here, the first 2, we see the other 7 episodes, flesh out. You'll start to, everything from the first 2 episodes will make sense. And I have to tell you, as a person who loved watching that, like, I wasn't born in the 60s, but the episodes would replay and, in regular TV. Like I was born around the time when we had black and white TVs. When we still had black and white TVs. Hell, I was born during the era when we had crappy black and white TVs and we had to use pliers to turn the channel. So, before the remote control era ever came. And seeing these in this fashion, in the I Love Lucy black and white, fashion, it was just awesome to see. Like, granted, I should be more annoyed of it now because this era of television represented a systemic type of situation, but not this in particular show, because there are more characters of color in this black and white sitcom series than you've ever seen. You've seen a character of Asian descent, Indian, African American. You'll never see that combination in any of those old shows guaranteed. I thought that was awesome. So from that significant standpoint, there are also people that we should look. I mean, the show, if you look at it, obviously, Wanda, this is Wanda's world. This is the world that Wanda's projecting. And she is starting to notice things that are unanswered. You see that at the end of the first episode when they actually have dinner with Mr. and Mrs. Hart, who's the boss. By the way, Deborah Jo Rupp from that 70s show is perfect for this episode. She is, I don't know if she's going to be in the other episodes when they start transitioning into the like the 70s sitcoms and all that stuff, but she was so perfect in her portrayal as Mrs. Hart. And it's like, it was as if she was actually in those old shows. But then again, she was also in that 70s show, which was sort of a period piece as well. She's just another actress who does not get enough credit for how great she is. We also seen some things that hinted off on a lot of things. We got to see Monica Rambeau in here, but she didn't say her name was Monica Rambeau. There was a lot of other people that we saw in here as well. Catherine Hahn as Agnes. And honestly, I think the way that they portrayed it, and I watched this twice. I'm actually watching it on my screen right now, and the Stark Industries toaster commercial comes on. I think Agnes is going to play a pivotal part in all of these episodes. She is set to be in all 9 episodes, which means I think there's a bigger role for her in this show. I definitely want to point that out, that my prediction for her character, I think she's more to be leading on. This is my prediction. I could be absolutely wrong here. I think she's going to turn out to be Abigail Brand, who is the leader of SWORD. I think she is in there to monitor what Wanda is doing and what is happening in this episode and all these episodes coming up, because you're going to see her in different episodes. If you go into IMDb or you watch some of the trailers, you'll see that she's going to be in the 70s and the 80s versions as well. So I think she's going to be there to monitor her and oversee what she's thinking and remembering throughout this whole thing. And there are shards of memory that is coming back. There are things that are happening to her that she's happening. The sad part of this whole thing is that I don't think Vision is real at all, which is going to be extremely sad, because I think she's projecting this for her own comfort. But things are starting to, as we saw in episode 2, it's starting to come into fruition that things are happening. By episode 2, when they actually show, what did they start showing? They started showing her seeing things in color, even though she's in black and white. You saw the helicopter that had the SWORD logo in there. You saw, one of the actresses, what is it, Dottie? Yeah, it was Dottie who bled, and you saw the red blood. Things are starting to come into fruition. Then at the end of episode 2, you saw that there was a guy in a beehive outfit, in a beekeeper's outfit with hives around him, and he saw her, and Wanda kind of knew who that was and decided to change the scenery around. And also, just out of the blue, after the magic act scene that they had on episode 2, she just out of the blue became pregnant, as if her name was Mary. So they're now transitioning over to the 70s, or the colorful 60s, because there was a time when things went into color. And I think it's awesome, because not only are we seeing this fictitious world that I believe is in Wanda's head come in, we're seeing them paying homage to TV throughout the generations. So this is going to be interesting, because we're going to see more appearances from people. Monica Rambeau is also going to be in 8 of the 9 episodes. We're going to see Kat Dennings come in, reprising her role as Darcy Lewis. We got, people. Who else? Listen, Randall Park is coming back as Jimmy Woo. This is going to be very interesting. All I got to tell fans is that I don't want to say appreciate the art of what was the 70s sitcom, but also know that this is a temporary thing. Like, yes, sometimes you just gotta wait. You gotta allow yourself. You gotta condition yourself to wait and be patient. Because I thought there were some really great things about these first 2 episodes. As a person who used to watch these shows, I thought it was very accurate to what they were doing. Like I said, I love this part when Vision is singing Yakety Yak, Don't Talk Back. And you got Deborah Jo Rupp as Mrs. Hart dancing in distraction while Wanda's like trying to put together the food, but constantly is messing everything up. This is total Bewitched classic stuff. This is total I Love Lucy classic stuff. Like, you may not understand it, but if you really watch those shows from back in the day, you gotta appreciate the artistry of this, because I thought they were spot on with how they did this and how they portrayed it, but also leaving in these subtle hints, these little things that makes you want to think like, what's going on here? Like I said, Agnes, to me, I think, is the person that we need to watch. I don't know if Mrs. Hart is going to be in it, because they did show her in the second episode as well. But the one thing that started coming in, too, I want to point out, too, is episode 1, where Mr. Hart was choking on a link sausage, and Mrs. Hart was like kept telling her husband to stop it, and she wouldn't. She did it in a really creepy, eerie way, where she kept saying stop it and laughing, but wasn't afraid or scared. And that was kind of a red flag right there. This was like Get Out type of eerie. Like, if you ever watch Get Out, it's that like environment where everything just comes off so weird and something else is going on. And this is what I felt from this. It's exactly what I felt with this. But then there was a little moment, and while he was choking, Wanda told Vision to help him. And he did. And he did exactly what he did. And then all of a sudden, everything just rebooted itself, what it appears. So, yeah, there are definitely things going on. There are things that can't be answered, because whenever that happens, that's when the glitch happens in the system. And then at the end of the show, you see that there's somebody monitoring them and watching them as if this was the Truman Show. So, I would just tell impatient fans who likes the bim bang boom and impact, I think all that's coming. I think there's some bigger things coming, but there's subtle hints that are coming on. I think this is why they showed the first 2 episodes, which is going to be in black and white. They just wanted to get it out the way and have people do it. I think once everything comes into fruition, I think there's going to be a lot to enjoy and a lot to respect in the first 2 episodes. I see that coming. The other thing that also we need to talk about is who was calling for Wanda. This was a discussion in our Talk Time post, our Spoiler Zone post on the A.C.M.G Facebook group. That was the one thing that was like, who is the person that was calling Wanda and saying the words, "Who did this to you?" We kept hearing that. What we also kept hearing is the song "Help Me Wanda," or it was supposed to be "Help Me Rhonda," but it's like help me Wanda. Now, here's the thing, and again, this is a prediction. This is a speculation at best. This is not something concrete. This is a hypothesis, if you will. There's a scene in Marvel Captain America Civil War where Hawkeye comes to take Wanda away from Vision to join up with Cap and the gang because they're imprisoning her. I do recall Clint saying, "You got to help me, Wanda." Which every time I thought about that, I thought of that song. And it's really interesting that song plays whenever you heard that voice that says, "Who did this to you, Wanda?" And the song "Help Me, Wanda," Rhonda. I believe it's originally called "Help Me, Rhonda," but I think it's they call it "Help Me, Rhonda" or "Help Me, Wanda" on here. So yeah, it's "Help Me, Rhonda." But now it's weird that they played that song and you hear this voice, but you can't make out who exactly it is. I have reason to believe it could be Hawkeye. Now, in the credits in IMDb, there's no mention of Clint being on the show, of Hawkeye being on the show. But then again, that doesn't mean anything, because a lot of times when they want to keep secrets, certain names don't show up on IMDb. They hide those names because there's something secretive coming out. There's also no other mention of any other Avengers as well coming out. And we also know that this movie is leading into the events of the new Doctor Strange movie as well. So there's a lot to think about here. There's a lot more. For those fans who are watching this and not liking the fact that they so much focus on this because they want to see superheroes do what superheroes do, guess what? Superheroes also have these little moments. Superheroes always have I've read comic books where they had scenarios like this. I'm sorry, but if you're a true comic book fan, did you know that these moments happen, that these slow burn situations happen, that you got to be patient because something greater is coming? So, yeah, it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate, but it's unfortunate in the sense of like the fans, some fans, and again, it could be just a vocal minority of fans at best, but it's just kind of sad that people don't get it and they think they do. But we've seen stuff like this happen before. We've absolutely seen stuff like this happen before in comics where they end up in this weird world and, you know, you have to figure out what's really going on here. So it's amazing that comic book readers can read it, but they can't watch it. But then again, I'm questioning, are these people really comic book fans? Because if you're really a comic book fan, you would actually appreciate where this is going. You understand that something greater is going to happen and is better. You know, and you just got to respect the arts. I love what they did here. I watched this. I'm watching it for the third time right now on mute. But I watched it last night with my wife. I watched it the first time on Friday. Had no trouble with it. And I'm just more excited and more interested in what's really happening. And why is this world she having? And why are these worlds having? And who is she running away from? Who is the guy in the beehive? Who is the guy in the beekeeper suit that she's running away from? Because what happened was when she saw him, she ran away from him. She rewounded the entire scene and going right back into the situation where she talked to Viz and they discovered she was pregnant out of the blue. So at that point, everything went colorized, and which means to me, the significance of that was that to me, she was running away from him and created a whole new scene where now this beekeeper is going to have to try to find her again. And I think all through these next few episodes, we're going to see that this person comes, closer and closer. It could be a sword agent, and on IMDb, this is Shane Barengu, I believe his name is, who is credited to be a tactical sword agent. He's playing in 4 different episodes, so that's something to look out for. We got a lot of people are going to be back here too. Deborah Jo Rupp is only in for 2 episodes. She was in the first 2 episodes. Wait, Grey Griffin is in this? No way. Are you kidding me? I'm looking at the actual credits right now. This is Grey Griffin here, but it doesn't show what exactly her part is in this. This is awesome. For those who don't know, I had a chance to meet Grey Griffin a while back. I think in 2018, I was at Keystone Comic Con here in Philadelphia. The first one, when I was able to liaison, Molly Flanagan, and Lisa, her partner, along, and we were going out to dinner, her and my wife, and then along with us is Grey Griffin, who has played a ton of roles, and including Catwoman and Batman Arkham City. She played RC in Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. She played a lot of different characters, man. Captain Marvel at one point. Wow, she's in this. This is awesome. She also plays Wonder Woman in DC Superhero Girls, Wonder Woman in Teen Titans Go, and an insane assortment of characters. Wow, that's interesting. She is in this series, but they don't have her as what? So that's going to be interesting here. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. I would just tell people to be patient. There's a lot to look into. You'll get your bing bang boom. Trust me. This is the same. This happens all the time. This happened when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. first came out. First season was very slow paced and until like the Winter Soldier came out. These things, some things just take time to build. you got to allow yourself to have the patience and excitement to build. If you do that, you'll be rewarded. You can't have everything that you want when you want it. That's just it. But I guarantee, I want to say I guarantee you. I don't want to say that at all because there wasn't humans. But I think this is going to lead into something very interesting and something way bigger than any of us imagined, especially the fact that Sword is finally in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I cannot stress that enough. This is a big deal. This is going to take the Marvel Cinematic Universe to charters that we've never got to see before. And now we're fully getting into the real world of Marvel. The Marvel comic universe is really coming in now. Sword is here. And that's the thing. What is Sword going to be? Is this going to be... Because, I mean, remember, this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so what is in the comics in the 616 may not be exactly what you see in the MCU. But regardless, I have faith. They put a lot of money into this. They put a lot of emphasis into this, and I'm looking very forward to doing this. I love what they're doing so far. Granted, it's not what we expect yet from what we see, but there's things going on here. There's things going on. This is not really what WandaVision is about. This is obviously a situation that involves her projecting these type of situations, maybe going through some traumatic situations since the events of losing Vision in Infinity Wars. You know, if you remember after end of Endgame, she was talking to who was she talking to? I think she was talking to Clint at the end when they were doing the memorial for Tony. How much she misses Vision, and according to how much they were missing Black Widow. So yeah, I would be I'll be surprised if this is not based upon the fact that, you know, she's missed Vision so much that she wants to see him, and this is how she portrayed their situation. There's a lot. These episodes are all about significance. And from an artist standpoint, when you look at, you know, any works of art, it's all about the significance and what did it involve. And the significance here is that she may be projecting all of these images to run away from the reality that she's in. And also she may be held captive by Sword in some type of experimentation type of situation. So there's a lot to be leading in, but damn it, that Agnes, I'm going to keep my damn eye on Agnes since she's going to be in here for the remainder of the entire series here as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. I love it so far. I'm looking forward to it. So that's my view on that. We already got a lot of views on the A.C.M.G Facebook group via the WandaVision Talk Time post. And for the most part, all of our... Now, granted, I will say this. The majority of our members of this Facebook group are in they're a higher demographic. They're like, most of them are going to be like 35 to 45 years old. So 9 chances out of 10, people in this age demographic have watched these type of shows before and understand it. Plus, we're a little bit more patient than this newer generation too. So we have a lot more to understand and a lot more to enjoy with this, and understand that there's a bigger picture after this. So there's a maturity level, dare I say, in this whole entire thing. And that doesn't mean everybody of this age demographic is going to get it. Because, let's be real, not everybody has the mindset and the comprehensiveness to understand what's going to happen. Some people have a more simplistic mindset, and they like to see big lights. They like to see big explosions, and that's what entertains them. Not exactly the worst thing in the world, but also there's a lot more dimension to these things, and you gotta love what you love. So it's not that this is bad at all. It's not just giving certain people what they want in this aspect, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense. It just means that some people maybe have a Paleolithic mindset, may want to hear just boom, boom, bang. Whereas other people have a more sophisticated mindset and understand the situation and is more involved into want to, see the situation through the way that they're doing it. So that's my play on it. But right now, me personally, I'm enjoying it so far. I love what they did. I extremely appreciate what they did with this, and they were spot on. If you look at it from an accuracy standpoint, they were spot on. They did a great job. Paul Bettany knocked it out the park. Brio, all of them just knocked it out the park here. I really, really enjoyed this to a T. Elizabeth Olsen, the best Olsen of them all, by the way, just nailed it. Who would have thought? First of all, before I even knew who she was, I didn't know that there was a third Olsen. And she is doing it, man. I can't speak for the twins, but it is doing it. Folks, that will do it for this edition of Talk Time Live. I hope you had a chance to enjoy it. I hope you had a chance to check out WandaVision and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And if you haven't, go out of your way to check it out. It's on Netflix. You can't miss it. Like I said before on Select Start, read the graphic novel first. Watch the movie. Or not. No, actually, you know what? Watch the movie first. Read the graphic novel. Realize how really accurate it is. Then play the game. And then watch this and listen to the soundtrack. All of them. Great combination of everything. Unlike any other franchise you've ever seen before. So go out of your way to check all of that out. So, folks, that will do it. You can check this and every show out on TalkTimeLive.com. You can check out our exclusive interviews, which, by the way, as I mentioned before, the cast of Naruto Q&A virtual panel that I hosted is up on there. The video version is up now, so you can watch that. You could go to TalkTimeLive.com. You should be able to see it. It's right next to the recent episode of Select Start. Or if ever, you can always go to the exclusive page and you'll see it there as well when you click on the cast of Naruto image. So you'll be able to find it there as well. And also, we'll see who's coming on the show next. You never know. 2021 is going to be very interesting, to say the least. But if you want to subscribe and download, and if you're new to listening to this show, you can also do so on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, and TuneIn, Pocket Cast, Pandora, and many, many more. So, just to let you know, this week I think I'm ready in terms of Select Start. I think I'm ready to do a versus review. I have been playing Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I've been also playing Judgment, which is the spinoff to the Yakuza series. And I want to compare and contrast the two and see whether which one is good, which one are good, which one is even better than the other, whatever. And, check it out. So this will probably be my first time doing a versus review, grading two of them in one episode and at the same time, but also comparing to see which one I like better than the other. Both, I can tell you now, are really good. To what extent, we'll find out this week. And then this Sunday, I just realized that the Batman series is out right now. The new Batman animated series that is based on the 70s, and I forgot the name of that. Batman. I can't find it. It's the Batman. It's something Dragon. Batman animated movie 2021. It's not Death in the Family, damn it. Soul of the Dragon. That's what it is. So, yeah, Batman Soul of the Dragon is out. It will be out. I believe it's the initial release is 26. I have reason to believe it may be out now. If that is the case, I will get a chance to check it out. And that may be the movie that I will look at this week for our review, for a talk topic this week. So definitely hold off for that. But yeah, we got definitely a lot of things to check out this week. So hopefully it will take your mind off of what's going on in the real world. And this is going to be another big historical week, by the way. So get ready. God willing, it all just goes off without a hitch. DC right now is entirely populated by National Guards. They reside in every single form of residence there. So good luck to anybody who's going to try to infiltrate that. Again, we'll never know. We'll see what happens there. So Everybody have a great week, and great and peaceful week, I should say. And again, thank you everybody who wished me well on my birthday. And let's do it. Let's keep it going and keep it growing. So that'll do it for me. On behalf of myself, this is Dak Xavier Josiah saying, learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. I am out of here. Take care and have a great week. Music for this episode is provided by Game Chops. Check out these great chiptune tracks and more at music.gamechops.com.